Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism. And this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from June. And this is June from the Narcissistic Baby Boomer Knows You're Better Than Them and Biracial Girls in Queen Bee Training Academy Get Brutalized. If you remember, June is biracial. Turns out I have heard of her father. Her father was a famous shoplifter or booster and numbers runner in Newark. And she's writing in another story. Here we go. Hi, Ollie. I had planned to write earlier, but the last few weeks have been a bit hectic. I thought I would write about my mother specifically since originally she was to be the focus of my stories, but I tend to go off on tangents. I also tend to gloss things over and make them less traumatic than they were. I don't necessarily consider this to be such a bad thing. Who wants to remember the shitty things anyway? True, but you have to remember them in order to get clarity from them. As I stated previously, I did not live with my mother after she left me when I was 15. I bounced around the country in my early 20s, and when my father asked me to come stay for a bit in Newark, I took him up on his offer. You already know how that ended. After my brief stay with my dad, I moved to Brooklyn, New York, and started working as a waitress in Times Square. I made decent enough money to upgrade little by little until I found myself at the Maritime Hotel in Manhattan. Even though I had many years as a server under my belt, they hired me as a maitre d'. They believed in starting from the bottom and working one's way up so as to have the most thorough training possible. I must say my years spent working there are still among the fondest of my life. I moved quickly up the ladder to server, then tip server captain. Captains are good. They get a portion of everybody's special events, and then one day to the head of special events department told me a position as assistant club manager had opened up for the very popular nightclub downstairs called Hero. Or Hyro. Though I had never been the manager of a club before, I accepted and ultimately got the job. I was making more money than ever before and having a damn good time doing it. I was buying cute clothes to wear and loved the surprised looks I would get from people who asked to see the manager, like, oh shit, she's the manager. No one could tell me anything. I was good at my job and spent the first 6 months proving myself to a crew of bouncers from the Bronx that I truly earned respect from. My mother and I were on speaking terms at that time. We spoke a few times a year, which was a lot for me. I told her about my life as it got progressively better, and she was genuinely interested in paying me a visit. She claimed to be having all kinds of joint problems and be in constant pain, but she really wanted to come see me. I never thought she would actually come. It wasn't like her to make any real effort pertaining to me, and I was rather used to it. I never had a boyfriend. I wasn't interested in anyone. I thought I was asexual, to be honest. There were guys that were interested in me, and I would try to be friends, but when we inevitably got to the point where they wanted more, I would have to explain that I didn't like them like that, and the relationship would be over. Other times, I would actually let the relationship become intimate, and I would end it anyway because I never really wanted it. I once went on a date with a Calvin Klein model, and believe me, he was so gorgeous. It was like looking directly into the sun. He was also dumb as a box of rocks. I couldn't even make it through the date before I just said, look, this isn't going to work out for us, and went home promptly after dinner. The least I could have done was use him for his body, LOL. Right, but when you see you're at a point, you got the type of personality. You got a very similar personality to me. Whereas, if you're not into somebody, you're not into it. If you're not into something, you're not into it, and you can't force yourself to be into it, and that's it. And you completely withdraw. I am the exact same way, you know? Like, hey, what are we doing here? This ain't working out. I ain't going to fake it. So I get it. I was once accused of being molested by a miffed and disgruntled suitor. It wasn't fun, and I wondered why I just couldn't love somebody. I begun to think there was something seriously wrong with me. I just didn't care about having a boyfriend. I thought maybe I was a lesbian. Even my mother suggested that might be the case. But I kissed a girl, and I definitely did not like it. If I had $1 for every lesbian chick that wished I did, well, I might have enough dollars to pay for the wedding. Your problem is you need somebody you're interested in. You need somebody that is not dumb as a box of rocks, okay? In order to be attracted to somebody, you need to be attracted to somebody more than physically. You need to be attracted to them mentally. You need to be able to connect with them and have a conversation, and whether it's a man or a female, you know. But you said you kissed a girl and you didn't like it, so you're not a lesbian. You need your mind stimulated, I think, in order to be attracted to somebody. I met this guy Adam at a local park while walking my dog. I had a Frenchie and he had a Boston Terrier, and they looked a bit alike. Adam and I hit it off, and we became rather fast friends. He was one that I did not know liked me, and if he had it his way, we would be a couple. We had a candid conversation, which guys and girls trying to maintain a stasis will want to have it as it is unnatural for such a relationship to persist. I explained I knew where he was coming from, but I didn't feel the same based on my past. That was not likely to change. Do you think on some level this is a pattern with you, that you like to kind of form these friendships with these guys, and then when they like kind of are into you, you reject them? Like, are you getting off on the rejection on some point? Because what was your intention in the first place with hang? Are you just looking for guy friends, or are you looking for somebody, because you said you don't know? So if we couldn't be friends or see each other anymore, that was understandable. It wasn't what he wanted, but we were cordial. We didn't hang out as much, but we were still cool. I told my mother all about it, and she said I was stupid and ridiculous not to try to pursue something with Adam. She said there was something wrong with me, and it seemed like the perfect guy. And if it was her, that she would date him. She had never even seen a picture of Adam. In due time, my mother decided to come out and see me. I was about 26 and was pretty surprised that my mother was making such an effort. It wasn't like her, so she was probably looking for something. It wasn't like her, but then I was living a cool-ass life, and I guess she just wanted to see it for herself. So she showed up at my job at the Maritime, and I showed her around the Bogota? Yeah, the Bogota. The restaurant I started at, and my club, the upstairs club called the Cabanas, and the hotel itself. I was very proud of it, as I knew it was impressive. I had to pinch myself sometimes to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The sun was setting, and I had arranged for us to have a meal out on the patio of La Bottega. At the end of the meal, I told Mom we should go because the dinner rush would be starting soon, and we didn't want to be taking up space. I suggested we head back to Brooklyn, and then we could go to one of the bars in Williamsburg. Now, this is going to seem super creepy, and it is hard for me to even admit, but here we go. As we were saying in the final goodbye to the last of my coworkers who were curious to meet my mother, a sleepy, dreamy, lustful look came over my mother's face, as if she wanted to kiss me. Like she gently touched my leg and actually leaned in like she was going to full-on kiss me, the way a man kisses a woman, tongue and all. What? I'm wondering if all this sexual resistance has to do with your mother doing stuff to you as a child that you're either blocking out, you don't remember your mother being sexual or inappropriate with you. That makes more sense. Now it's making sense. One of my peers was still at the table, and I jerked myself back and kind of laughed a little, but was certain of what just transpired. I hoped the lingering acquaintance hadn't caught it. I could tell in the way she rushed awkwardly away that she had, in fact, sensed something was off. I felt a little sick, but decided to pretend it didn't happen. We caught the subway back to my apartment. Adam knew my mother was coming to town and said he would like to meet her. I told him we were headed to Zablonsky's in Williamsburg, a bar where patrons were allowed to bring their dogs and let them roam free in the bar. I love that place. Adam met us there. I was not yet the drinker I am now, and it didn't take long for me to get drunk. Oh no. When Adam got there, he and my mother seemed to have no problems making. If he fucks your mother, I swear, and like, I hate to say it, but how this is going, and knowing she's a fucking boomer degenerate, nothing would make a boomer degenerate happier than fucking a man that was interested in you. Nothing. And I hope this is not where it's going. When Adam got there, he and my mother seemed to have no problems making conversation. We were having a good time, but I reached my limit at some point and fell asleep at the booth. I was wakened sometime later by Adam. My mother was at the bar getting another drink, and he said he had to get going. All right. We said our goodbyes, and he left. On the train home, my mother went on and on about how great Adam was and how he liked me and I should be with him, but I would probably fuck it up anyway. What's wrong with me? Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until a year later when Adam and I went out to eat, because we hadn't seen each other in such a long time. He had something he wanted to tell me. Oh my God, did she like suck his dick in the fucking bathroom or something? Oh my God. He asked if I remembered when my mother had come to visit. Of course I had. He told me after many long pauses and choking that my mother had stroked his leg and rubbed his inner thigh and came on to him while I was asleep that night at Zablonsky's. Of course she did. Of course she did. Baby boomer degenerate is gonna degenerate. That's it. Degenerate, gonna degenerate. That's it. That fucked up you, fucked up your sexuality, this is exactly how drunk he was. Exactly. My mother had no problem trying to grab my this is why my brother wouldn't go near her. Isn't it, Michael? Isn't it, Michael? No, you're still watching. Again, maybe we'll get into that. I know things are going on that I know. Just so you know, Michael, you're not the only one. We're not the only people that went through this shit. We're not the only people. You're not special, Michael. She wasn't special. Sorry, June. I just had to get off on a little tangent there. Degenerates are gonna be degenerates. That's just the way they are. It's just the way they are. I was like, what? No. What the fuck? Like, were you really that surprised? Honestly, June, were you really that surprised? I felt sick and started to cry. I was so embarrassed. Only my mother would be so disgusted. No, not only your mother, my mother. Okay, plenty of other mothers on this program. My mother, not only your mother, not only your mother, not only your mother. How could I ever dream of having a normal relationship with anyone when I come from such trash? Right? And God knows what you're blocking out from childhood, what this woman did to you. It reminded me of that time in the 8th grade after I transferred to a new public school after my fight with Lamika and I was expelled. I met a guy named Rasan, who granted was rather large for an 8th grader. He was tall, built like a man, but even still, he wasn't. We started talking, and my mother had done the same thing to him in 8th grade. He told me the very same day and was much more bold about it, saying, "Is your ma okay? Like, she seems weird, touching me all close. I swear she was trying to kick it to me." Rasan was not shy and could take care of himself, but he didn't really want to be alone with my mother again. I just blocked all that out and pretended Rashan never told me that. You can't deny it, because not only your mother. There was no denying that there was something wrong with my mother. I got up the gumption to ask her about the Adam situation years later, so you didn't cut her off right there and then. Years later, for her only to feign bewilderment and claim it never happened. She even had the audacity to say perhaps it was Adam that wanted her. Of course it was. Of course it was. I was like, bitch, your own husband doesn't want your old dusty ass, never mind a fresh cut like Adam. She was always telling stories about how people always thought she was younger than she actually is and how young men would hit on her all the time. Okay. Whatever, this is just one of the strange things I remember my mother doing, and if I'm honest, there have been other times that I got gross vibes but shoved things down and way out of the way. Gee, I can't figure out why you have intimacy problems, June. Ain't nobody got time for that. I wanted to share this because it makes me feel physically ill, and I thought it might help to tell it. Thanks again, Ollie. Jane. Makes us all physically ill. Makes me physically ill. Makes my brother physically ill. To the point where that's what ended the relationship with me and him. You know, was him having to admit what our mother was fucking like. Mother would rub his fucking inner thigh and his leg and my leg to the point where my brother couldn't be next to my mother, where he would always cover himself up. He would hold a pillow over himself. He would move away. It was frightening when you would watch my brother and mother try to interact with my mother. It's not only your mother. Baby boomer degenerates. It's not only your mother. I hope that helps. But thank you again for another story and contribution, June. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or you'd just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism.